This right here was also a part of the plan.
And laying off 1,200 workers after closing its pork factory in Perry, Iowa, only later to announce 52,000 jobs for migrants.
The company's excuse: migrants are getting the jobs that Americans don't want. A human resources executive for the company telling Bloomberg the migrants have been, quote, very loyal. They've been uprooted, and what they want is stability. What they want is a sense of belonging.
Let's bring in Fox and Friends Weekend.
What exactly is going on? So the Iowa Tyson Foods plant in Perry, which is kind of weird how I said that, they decided to basically shut down their plant of what appears to be 12 to 1,300 workers total. Some of these workers, by the way, are not American born. We'll get to that more so in the second half of the video. But they chose to shut down the plant, lay off all the workers, and then now they have decided to bring back what you saw at the very beginning: a bunch of illegals. Sounds to me like these people are going to be cheap labor, which, of course, as I mentioned at the very opening of the video, was exactly the intention. But we'll talk more about the intentions a little bit later over the course of this video. Let's go ahead and get to the initial story.
The Tyson Foods pork plant closure in Perry will affect thousands in the community. Our Connor O'Neill is joining us now to share the story of an employee from El Salvador who moved here for work decades ago.
Yeah, Stephanie, the woman I spoke with asked to remain anonymous, but relied on this job heavily, like many others at the plant, because she said it's not just a job, but her life as well.
Really quick, before we go fully into this, I want to go ahead and say this. As you guys know, my position on illegal immigration is this here: a wall needs to be built. And obviously, we need to stop the illegal immigration, especially at this rate here. But then again, if you guys recall correctly, it's the current president of the United States who said this, and obviously he meant it.
Make sure that we immediately surge to the border. All those people are seeking asylum. They deserve to be heard. That's who we are. We're a nation that says if you want to flee and you're fleeing oppression,
that's led to this entire crisis. Now, this right here was the overall end game. The overall end game was to start bringing these people in and having them work, let's just say, much lower end jobs, much lower skilled jobs, which we'll talk a little bit more about a little bit later on in this video. But the thing is this right here, and I've been saying this for a while, that and this right here is the real point here: a lot of migrants, those who actually are legal, meaning those that came here, I don't know, maybe 10, 20, 30 years ago, applied for citizenship, got their green card. A lot of these people don't like it when illegals come over. And the main reason why they don't like it is because it's almost like they skipped the line. It's almost like they completely hopped the line itself, and therefore they were given a free pass. By the way, as I've covered in other videos, a lot of these migrants are claiming to be asylum seekers and economic migrants. Of the 15 million jobs that Biden claims he's created, a lot of these jobs have actually gone to illegals. Now, I can already hear somebody saying that they're taking jobs that Americans don't want, but there's a problem with this right here. A lot of Americans can't find a job outside of nothing but blue-collar work, and of course, there are a lot of people who actually prefer working blue-collar work. There's a few jobs that I've worked that I actually had a lot of fun in doing blue-collar work, even though I was never like a carpenter or an electrician or anything like that. But obviously, I have worked a little bit of construction before, and of course, it can be fun. The retail industry is a pain in the ass, but every now and again, you'll also find a job in retail that ain't too bad. Like, for example, I was a gun salesman for a pretty long time, and I've also worked at Best Buy twice, both times in the back, handling, bringing in material, shipping and receiving, putting it on the shelf. It can be fun from time to time, but still, the point is this right here. The main shtick that they love to use against the populace that, quite frankly, does not like all the illegal immigration is to say that these people are taking jobs that Americans don't want. Some of the problems, however, with this is that there are a lot of young people out there who can't go to college who do, in fact, need a job. By the way, this is part of the blackpilling process that we'll be talking about a little bit later on, probably the next week when I do my video on demoralization. The thing is this right here. A lot of these young people, especially those who can't go to college, they're going to need a job. And a lot of these right here, of course, are young Americans. So, of course, they need a job. Well, what about those who came over, did everything the right way? Even though they broke the law to get here, they at least applied for citizenship. Of the tens of millions of migrants that the Biden administration has brought in, none of them have actually applied that we have any actual record of that they've actually applied for citizenship. And of course, even if they did, it would take probably decades to even process it because of how many people that we've brought in. You've completely overloaded ICE. You've completely overloaded the immigration system as a whole, which means that a lot of these people are going to have to be deported at some point in time. That way there's a problem that we're getting at this moment in time. But also to go on top of this is not only the migrants who came here the right way and do everything the right way, it's also Americans, as I mentioned before. So you are going to lay these people off, shut down this plant, and then turn right back around after that, and you're going to give these jobs to illegals? Doesn't make any sense.
Noticias, esto fue como muy de pronto. Yo nunca había oído noticias, nunca. Todo estaba bien.
All was okay Monday inside the near 1,300 worker Tyson Foods pork plant in Perry, employing around 15% of residents, according to recent U.S. Census data.
Con esta noticia, yo me siento decaída. No hallo mi puesto, me siento nerviosa.
News which caught employees by surprise that Tyson Foods would permanently close their pork plant at the end of June after being a mainstay in the community since 2001. Many employees rely heavily on their jobs financially, including this employee I spoke with who moved from El Salvador decades ago to work at this plant and asked us to remain anonymous.
Guys, I played that little bit there of the lady from El Salvador and her family. A lot of these families, of course, in the area are going to be affected. Now, I want to go ahead and say this really quick. In some of these small towns, a plant like, say, the Tyson pork plant that you're talking about or we're mentioning here, in a lot of cases, these plants are kind of what holds a town together. Like if a new factory comes to a small town, a lot of times that's kind of the thing that kind of keeps the entire system, as far as the local economy is concerned, kind of keeps things together. It's not a good message to people, though, that you're going to lay these people off and then bring in more people to then work their job. By the way, it's also came out that these particular migrants are going to be getting free attorneys to fight back against the immigration system. Now, let that sink in. This right here was the goal. This right here was the plan. But also something else, too, and I can already hear somebody saying, well, this right here kind of shoots away your BRT theory. No. It actually intensifies it, as I'll explain right now. In cities like, say, Chicago, in cities like New York, or even Boston, you have a certain population, of course, a minority population that can't get good jobs. And, of course, their neighborhoods are being gentrified. Now, I'm not completely against gentrification. I think that what needs to happen is there needs to be an actual transfer of making an actual neighborhood a lot better. We'll probably do that in another video. But the thing is this right here. A lot of people, especially people of color, they get these jobs that don't pay a whole lot of money. Now, the thing that you got to understand is that this same problem that I just mentioned about big cities also translates over to small towns. I've seen this personally, and I've also seen this in some jobs that I've worked. I worked security at Case Farms, not too far down the road from where I'm from, because in East North Carolina, we do have some pretty big plants. At one point in time, DuPont was the thing here, but of course, you've also got other plants, like say Case Farms, Butterball, which of course is in Mount Olive. Butterball was a place I never actually worked at, but I did work at the chicken plant 30 miles down the road. The thing that you got to understand is this here. A lot of these jobs have got to go to Americans who, quite frankly, are living out in the country or living in rural areas that are, in fact, somewhat poor. They're only getting paid about $9, $10 an hour in some of these states. In the case of Iowa, you're getting paid $16 an hour to work at this plant. But, of course, the cost of living has gone up since Biden has been in office. The thing that people oftentimes seem to forget is that a lot of these jobs are, in fact, starter jobs. A lot of people can walk in these places at age 18, apply for a job, and get hired. Some of those people, well, actually a good portion of them, are actually people of color. Meaning a lot of times, this is the first serious job that a black man or black woman may have, and they may work at this place for 20 to 30 years. So, yes, you are also replacing those who are of color who do live in small rural town areas. But then you get the effect of families as a whole, and what I mean by the effect of families as a whole is also the local economy.
Tenemos nuestros pagos, yo y mi esposo. Pagamos casa, los biles. Yo me deportaron un hijo, ayudo a mi hijo, ayudo a mis padres, a mi mamá.
A city they have grown to believe is right for them.
Aquí cerca para llegar a la casa, no tener peligro. Viene la nieve, uno anda peligrando. Sí, ¿verdad? Un trabajo cercano y que ganemos, pues siquiera para pagar los biles, para pagar la casa, para ayudar a nuestra familia. Es lo único que queremos nosotros.
Understanding the rippling effects that that's going to have on this community. Obviously, the numbers are 1,300 people that are about to get laid off. However, multiply that times 4 because each person has a family,
Now, we're going to come back to this again here in a second, especially after I show you guys the next set of news clips, because obviously there are some people in the community that are, in fact, stepping up and trying to give people jobs. But here's the thing, though, about this particular situation. Perry, Iowa, and I just double checked, is a town of just over 7,800 people. I'm showing you guys the figures here. I think it said 7,836. As you guys know, I'm not the type of person to actually do the video and then read everything verbatim. I kind of summarize and paraphrase and then leave you guys the exact article in the description box. I'll be changing that over the course of the year because I'm probably going to be putting a webcam up here because I do have one. The problem has always been, I'm just an idiot when it comes to tech. And of course, I'm also planning on doing video essays, which is funny because I can do a video essay, but yeah, for some odd reason, I can't really get the webcam crap. But obviously, that's my fault there. When you got families of like 3, 4, in some cases 5, and let's just say you have married couples, because I saw this when I worked at Case Farms. When I worked security there, you oftentimes have married couples work there. Now, here's something else too that needs to be said. The plant that I worked at, I did security at, that was a plant that had 1,500 workers. Of the 1,500 workers that worked there, it was estimated that roughly about 450 of them were Hispanic. And of course, there were about 275 white workers, and everybody else was black or they were another origin of Hispanic, meaning that they may have been Cuban. We had a lot of people from El Salvador. We had people from, of course, Honduras. It was basically a mixed bag, okay? So just bear with me this process. The thing is this right here, though. A good portion of the workers working there, as I mentioned earlier, they were young people. It was their first job. They were working there. They've been there for a while. This doesn't include the truck drivers because a lot of people go there, work these places, are also truck drivers. Have you ever seen truck drivers go through there? They deliver chickens that come from different farms. Next thing you know, Tyson, of course, they do their process, and eventually you go through the par fry process. So the thing about these types of plants is that they provide a lot of jobs, a lot of starter jobs, and of course, they also provide stable hours. Well, here's the thing that you got to understand. Some of these places have married couples working there, and I found this out when I was working there at Case Farms. The security was that you had a lot of man and wife situations, people who were waiting for their visa, people who were applying. They'd been here 5 or 6 years. And as I said before, while they may have been here illegally breaking the law, they did keep themselves from getting any additional kind of trouble. They didn't break any additional laws or anything. They went through the process, and eventually they got their citizenship. These people right here are the ones who are the most upset about the situation because, as I mentioned earlier in the video, it looks like people are hopping the line and are being given benefits that, quite frankly, they should not be given. But about that local economy, about those families, we see when you lay these families off or when you lay these workers off, next thing you know, these families have now got to suddenly rely on the taxpayer more. They got to rely on the unemployment line. They got to rely on the unemployment benefits. Or like in a town like the size of Perry, Iowa, they have to rely on jobs that don't pay exactly what these families need to get by. As you will see in this news report, pay very, very close attention to the very end.
Scrambling to come up with solutions, nearly 1,300 employees at the Tyson pork processing plant in Perry will lose their jobs this summer. And city leaders want to keep as many of those soon-to-be displaced employees in the community.
KCCI's Marcus McIntosh went to Perry. He spoke with the city trying to find a silver lining in the cloud that's hanging over it.
A rainy, dreary Thursday may match the mood for many here in Perry after Monday's announcement the Tyson plant would close at the end of June. But city officials say they're working hard to make sure the sun shines again.
Perry Mayor Dirk Cavanaugh says it is time to hold Tyson's feet to the fire.
We need to keep them honest with us and make sure that we're not damaged too badly by them pulling out.
Mayor Cavanaugh and other city leaders are pushing forward, working to make sure Tyson does right by its current employees who will not have jobs here at the end of June.
To provide that assurance that the city and our partners are doing something and working to do some sort of assistance for those workers and the community as a whole.
A community facing
Tyson's a big part of our business.
Jose Sanchez co-owns El Rey Market. It's just blocks from the Perry plant, a plant that means customers for his small business.
It's the busiest time of the day for us during the week. So, I mean, especially even on the weekend, it's gonna, if they don't have work, they're not gonna shop. So it's definitely gonna hurt us.
Sanchez hopes another company will step in, buy the plant, and keep people employed. But he knows that is a long shot. So he's allowing JBS Foods to hold a job fair at his business in efforts to recruit workers from Tyson.
People got to pay their bills and they got families to support. So, I mean, it is what it is.
The attempt to try to create second-class citizens has taken first-class citizens and basically moved them down to second-class citizens while telling the second-class citizens that they are now second-class citizens on the upper tier, which means that they're as close to first-class citizens as you can get. They're really third-class citizens. That's really what I'm seeing here. You see a lot of the people who are coming across the border, they're claiming they want freedom and that, Biden did this and, Biden has given us a loan or Biden is giving us a chance. They don't seem to realize that they're going to be working the crap jobs too. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, well, this right kind of undermines what you were saying before. Well, actually, it does not, and I'll explain why. One of the things that we have noticed over the years is the smugness of the left, the whole eliteness. Of course, whether it be Nancy Pelosi saying something along the lines of, oh, what was it? Oh, who's going to pick our crops? Or Kelly Osbourne, famously.
So there are a lot of Latinos here in this country that do agree that the immigration problem is a problem and it does need to be addressed and it does need to be fixed.
Interesting.
But making those comments, those racist comments, do not help.
And if you kick every Latino out of this country, then who is going to be cleaning your toilet, Donald Trump?
Oh, that's no.
In the sense that,
No.
you know what I mean? Like, when I'm saying
There's
more
jobs to be
in LA, they always,
But
they
Latinos are not only the only people
I didn't mean
doing
it like that. Come on. No, I would never mean it like that.
Okay.
See, Hispanics aren't stupid. And you see, Hispanics after a while will begin to realize that every single smug liberal acts exactly the same exact way that Kelly Osbourne did. By the way, with Kelly Osbourne, she's lived her entire life in Southern California, or she's lived a good portion of it in Southern California. The Osbournes recently just tried to move back to England, and while it was that I still listen to Ozzy's old music, obviously the man is absolutely insane. It seems to me like Jack is the only one in the crowd who has at least half a brain. It used to be Sharon, but she's got off the deep end as well. The point is this right here. After a while, Hispanics will see that this right is how liberals really and truly feel about them. And, of course, they're all going to be in very, very blue areas, which makes you wonder if there's something else to come or another shoe to drop that we did not see. But we'll talk a lot more about that in the video that I've got planned on Chicago, including the actual migrant situation and migrants who are now suddenly refusing free food, which, of course, the free food is being made by a bunch of wokesters who claim that it is culturally relevant. But we will talk about that tomorrow because it's upsetting on one hand, but it's also absolutely hilarious on the other. I'm going to try to get 3 videos out tomorrow, including this one here, so I'm going to be pretty daggone busy. Okay, editing Paul here. 2 things. Number 1, something has happened. A conservative investing group, a relatively sizable one, has chosen to divest themselves from Tyson. So there's one thing that is going in the right direction. And also one more thing, too. If I did not edit these in over the course of the video, and something else too, this video is actually going to be getting released tonight at 7 o'clock. Here are the actual companies that Tyson actually owns. So therefore, if you want to not buy anything that is related to Tyson, this right here is completely on you. And of course, like I said, we'll be talking about Planet Fitness, but I've decided to go ahead and release this video right here for obvious reasons because it needs to go viral. It needs to get out there. And also one more thing too. Dude, being offline for 3 or 4 days really and truly destroyed my algorithm. So, but here you go. Here are the companies here. If you guys choose that you want to say, screw Tyson, screw Hillshire Farm, screw anybody that Tyson owns going forward. So here you guys go. Will it destroy this company? Probably not, but it definitely will help change their attitudes, especially when it comes to the American worker. Yeah, who will clean your toilet? Basically, what the current elites are doing is that they're telling these migrants that you are below us. We're bringing you in for slave labor. We're going to give you money, of course, but at the same time, though, we're going to treat you like crap. We're going to disregard you like you're absolutely nothing. Now, I think the best solution to this entire problem would just simply be not to allow any more migrants to come in. And, of course, there is a boycott going on of Tyson Foods, which I'll talk about a little bit more towards the end, because obviously Tyson does, in fact, own more than just Tyson Foods. But here's the thing that you got to really and truly think about. What you guys saw earlier with Kelly Osbourne saying who's going to clean your toilet, or what I was saying about Nancy Pelosi saying that who's going to pick the crops. They also wanted to go in the military at one point in time. That was something that Dick Durbin proposed. We'll talk about that probably in another video. But the thing that you got to understand here is that a lot of these migrants, while it is that they are getting maybe $16 an hour, the cost of everything is going through the roof. So while Pete Hegseth is going to basically say exactly what I just said, something is obviously being left out.
Weekend co-host Pete Hegseth. Pete, good to see you. Yes. But again, lower wages, taking American jobs. This was the reason why Democrats were opposed to illegal immigration 10, 15, 25 years ago. But here it plays out. This costs Americans a livelihood.
That's true. It was also the reason why the Chamber of Commerce crowd of the Republican Party was so resistant to Donald Trump back in 2015, 2016, dependent on importing cheap labor. He said, we're going to build that wall. We're going to stop this. I'm going to put Americans first. Wages will rise as a result. And now you've got an inversion of that with the Democrat Party saying, come on in. And then we've heard glimpses of it, right? When Nancy Pelosi said, who else is going to pick our crops, right? I mean, that's their mindset. And the businesses are happy to do it when there's no E-Verify or there's no consequences. And so cheaper labor for this business to produce a product. And it's not an easy job. You know, people that do those jobs, they're dirty, they're tough, but Americans should have the first shot, and they should have a good shot at a good wage.
And it's so dismissive. The language that they use, that Americans don't want these jobs. Really?
Americans had these jobs.
Right.
And they lost them.
Correct.
Exactly.
And if you thought about paying, if Americans are doing the jobs, they're going to raise the wages
like
for
I
the
said,
jobs.
I agree 100% with everything he was saying just now, basically saying everything that I was saying. The thing is this right here. You're getting $16 an hour. You're being moved out in the middle of nowhere. Most of you guys don't even have vehicles or cars, can't buy one, can't pay for one. The price of everything is through the roof. The inflation is ridiculous. So it makes you wonder if, by some odd chance, this new second-class group of citizens is being brought in is actually just going to be poorer than the other second-class citizens that they're trying to replace. Wow. Now, guys, I did tell you that there was a boycott going on of Tyson Foods, and quite frankly, I've never really eaten Tyson Foods. Just don't really care for it. That was until I realized that one of the products that I buy a lot of was Hillshire Farm sausage. So, yes, Hillshire Farm and Jimmy Dean are owned by Tyson Foods. So if you guys want to boycott, go right ahead and do so. I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys what to do or what not to do. But still, though, I advise you guys at least pay attention to the bracket of food companies or certain organizations. By the way, Sara Lee is also owned by Tyson Foods, too. And I would go ahead and boycott the hell out of these people because, quite frankly, they're not worth our business anymore, and neither is Hillshire Farm. With that right there being said, guys, please tell me what you think. Please leave a like. Please also share the video. Please sound off. And I'll see you guys later.